Welcome to the Spiritual Care Series, a course designed to help you gain the skills you'll need to offer thoughtful, relevant spiritual care to those involved in the ageing journey. I'm Lee Hatcher, and I'll be your guide as we work through the principles and practical exercises together. There's an increasing need for good spiritual care for older people. The world's older population is growing at a staggering rate. In the next 10 years, the number of people aged over 60 will pass 1 billion. We are an ageing world. Governments, NGOs and social institutions are struggling to provide the quality of care that older people require. But you can be part of the solution by providing the essential spiritual care that will undergird every other form of care for the older person. Before we get underway though, let's meet the first of our teachers. Professor John Swinton is a world-renowned expert in dementia and meaningful ageing and the founder of the University of Aberdeen's Centre for Spirituality, Health and Disability. He also happens to be a registered nurse for people with learning disabilities and a registered mental nurse. His intellectual and practical experience will be enhanced by other experts who will join us in our discussions. And of course, we'd also like to introduce you to your classmates. Sue is a mother of 2 adult children and works part-time in her local school, as well as being active in her local community. Lucy is an active member of her church and is a mother of 2 teenagers who's worked in physiotherapy and as a registered nurse. Sue and Lucy are people just like you who have busy lives but are embarking on the noble task of becoming spiritual carers in order to help others age meaningfully.
I want to be a spiritual carer because I've always been passionate about spiritual care. And so for me to have an opportunity where I can become better informed and then walk alongside older people that are negotiating these huge challenges that old age brings, I'd consider that a really great privilege.
Well, I hope to be able to gain an appreciation and an awareness and I guess an understanding of the ageing journey itself. And ultimately the skills, the attitude and even the mindfulness of what it means to be a spiritual carer for the old person.
Your story is probably similar in parts and different in others. If you'd like to think through the sort of qualities that help make up a good spiritual carer, then you can find them listed in your course workbook. But before we can learn about how to help people age meaningfully, physically, mentally and spiritually, we need to recognise our attitudes to ageing itself. What does growing older mean to you? There are unique challenges to ageing in Western cultures, which mean that growing older is not always seen in a positive light. Donna Barnard is the former pastoral care coordinator at a major care home and head counsellor at the Southern Highlands Bereavement Care Service. She's also the founder of Through Our Eyes, a program designed to help link generations through shared stories and recollections. Donna and John Swinton share the concern regarding the isolation of older people. Well, welcome everyone. It's great to be together.
Thank you. Yes.
Look forward to some great conversations. John, can we start off with you? Why do Western cultures so often push older people to the margins of society?
Well, there's lots of different reasons there, but one way in which we could think about it is like this. Like, every culture has a story or a number of stories that help it to make sense of the world. So for many hundreds of years, the story that helped Western culture to make sense of the world was religion. And so with a religious story, you've got a beginning, a middle and an end. So it helps you to make sense of that. So when you get older, it's not necessarily the end of the world, you're moving towards a purpose. But in cultures like our own, which are beginning to move away from religion, it's a different story. It's a story of the present, because you don't have any stories to explain the future or the past. Everything relates to the present. So health, well-being, fitness and youth become really, really important because that's all you've got. That's the only story you have. So in that context, it gets difficult to get old because you're losing everything. If your body begins to change, if you're not able to think the same way, if you're not productive, then you have a significant problem because people can't really make a lot of sense of that. And so productivity becomes the meaning of life, which is one reason why it's so difficult when you retire, because when you retire, you lose your identity because you're no longer perceived as productive in that sense. So that's one way of looking at it.
John, I hear the term ageism a lot. How would you define that?
Well, the simplest way is to think about it like this, right? If we look around this table, you're Asian, I've got West Indian background, you're Australian, you're English, right? And so racism would suggest that we treat Lucy in a different way than we treat you, simply based on the fact of her ethnic background. So we're being racist when we do that. Ageism works out exactly the same way. So we'd have a table just like this, where there's younger people and older people, but we wouldn't give value to the older people, and I won't say who these people are in this table.
Thank you.
That's right. But we wouldn't value them, we'd give them less opportunities, and we would really consider their lives to be not particularly useful, maybe not even worthy at all. So we would be ageist. So racism and ageism run along very similar lines.
So would coming from different cultures affect the way we actually perceive then the aged?
Oh, absolutely, it would do. Because different cultures have different understandings of ageing, and even of the most appropriate ways to care for people who are in that phase of their life. And that becomes really complicated in a care home where you have maybe people from 4 or 5, 6 different cultures, all with the same goal to care, but all with a completely different worldview and a different way of understanding what's going on and what's for the best.
So how are we going to adapt as a society to really care for older people?
We need to begin to rethink the significance of productivity, or at least rethink what productivity means, right? So at the moment we think that to be productive is to have some kind of output that goes into economics, to make money, basically. And so you come to retirement and say, well, they're not making money, so they're not productive. But actually, to be productive is to do the best that you can within the gifts that are given to you. So giving people the opportunity to produce in a different way is fundamental. So for example, if you go to Orlando, Disney World, and look around at the people who are serving you, who are looking after you, who are guiding around, it's all older people who have retired, and they go there and they work there to get people around the parks. Another example would be in some schools, particularly in the States, but also in the United Kingdom, older people are brought into the school to teach younger people skills. Right? And so you would open up a primary school, and elder people come in and teach people how to read or to talk to them or to share stories with them. Anything that makes you productive, but not economically productive, just contributing to the community around you, but at the same time fulfilling yourself in the midst of that.
Dora, I'm sure you've experienced lots of truly valuable people regardless of their productivity or their quote-unquote usefulness.
Absolutely, yeah. Like the way we see older people, well, anyone at any stage of life, we value them. And especially older people, they have a lot of wisdom. They bring a lot of wisdom from their life stories that we can value, and we can really learn a lot from them. And also just to understand, I think, as a society, that it's a process that all of us are going to go through, and to really sort of get a sense that this could be our mother, it could be our father, it could be us one day. So yeah, to just have that respect and acknowledge that. Yeah.
So what does it look like to value? You were saying about valuing someone. What does that actually look like?
Yeah, I think paying attention, being interested in people, giving them time. Yeah, and seeing that they have got purpose in their life, even though they're not working. You know, they haven't got careers anymore, but there's still purpose in
Because
life.
we know, regardless of our age, how important that is for us to have people interested in us. It's a really
yes.
valuable thing.
It is. No matter how old we are, no matter how we look, where we come from, we want to feel that we fit in, that we're valuable as people.
Yeah, and I think what you say about paying attention is really important, because you need to pay attention in the right kinds of ways.
Yeah.
You know? So if you take, for example, the difference between providing good quality care and good quality of life, right? So you can produce quality of care where people are looked after well, but that wouldn't necessarily mean you have good quality of life where people are encouraged to be themselves, to have a sense of meaning, to have a sense of value. So holding that tension between good quality care and good quality of life means paying attention to the right things, or all of the things.
Yeah, that's very true.
It's important to remember every older person has had a full life and unique history, and they deserve dignity, respect, and quality care.
It's a cry from the heart of a frail older woman living in a care home. We only hear her thoughts because she's had a stroke and can't speak.
But inside this old carcass, a young girl still dwells. And now and again, my battered heart swells. I remember the joys. I remember the pain. And I'm loving and living life over again. I think of the years, all too few, gone too fast, and accept the stark fact that nothing can last.
To the staff, she's just another old body to be fed, toileted and kept clean. To them, she's more like an object than a living, feeling person. And that takes away from this woman the most basic right of all, the one we're all born with, the right to be valued as a person and therefore to be treated with respect. That's how I understand dignity.
Dignity means respect, giving anyone choices and listening to their opinions.
Somebody's beliefs, their thoughts, their feelings.
Looking at somebody as an individual and supporting them to maintain that individuality.
It's not an optional extra, it's part of their everyday care.
Dignity for me personally means respect in action.
Not being rude to people. And, try to be nice. I appreciate that myself.
So what does it mean to treat someone with respect?
Do you want to go into the lounge?
Yes.
See everybody else?
I like
have a little
the lounge,
chat?
yes.
Yeah. Should we go there then?
I believe it involves everything you think, say or do.
Should we go and see everyone else then, yeah? Then?
It's surprising how many negative stereotypes we can pick up on ageing without even realising. Try our short true or false quiz in your course workbook. Then let me encourage you to take a moment to work through the growing older questions that follow.